Driftglass and I watched the Dune 3 trailer, and I said, "Are we going to see that on the big screen, Driftglass?" Driftglass said, "We're going to watch it on our phones, Blue Gal."
On our phones, the way God intended.
Like David Lynch said.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch a movie on my fucking phone. And didn't he make a version of Dune? I think he did.
He did.
It wasn't that good. It wasn't Denis Villeneuve good.
I recently listened to a Harlan Ellison review of Dune, and he was like, people said it was unfilmable, but he did it, and now it's out there, and I'm sure years from now, people look back and say, it's pretty good. Like, no, you just got that one entirely wrong.
He said that about the David Lynch one?
Yeah. So, like, the set designs are amazing, and they finally filmed it, and like, I get it that you are a fan.
Yeah.
And you want this thing to succeed. And there are certain people you will, there was a thing called Harlan Ellison's Watching, which he did videos, like 10-minute videos of shit. And there was always a book or something at the end where you really got to get this book by my friend Dan Simon.
Oh.
And it's fine. It's a little bit of commerce. And I know he wanted it to be good, but it wasn't. And it never will be because it sucked.
Even with Sting in it, it still sucked.
Yeah. No, Sting was the highlight of that movie, honey.
Topless Sting.
Yeah.
Who knew?
And he took a swing, but man, wrong director.
Yeah.
For that project.
It didn't work out so good.
No.
Driftglass, would you like to do a podcast tonight?
I would love to do a podcast tonight.
Well, how do we start it?
Anytime you're ready.
Okay, so let's do this thing. 3, 2, 1.
You know what you can do? You can listen to the Professional Left Podcast wherever you get your podcasts on Netroots Radio or at our website, proleftpod.com, where you can also contribute to this podcast. There is, in fact, a PayPal button at our website, or you can mail us a letter and or contribution at Post Office Box 9133, Springfield, Illinois, 62791.
This is the podcast for the week of July 10th, 2026. It's not safe for work.
Recorded live from the Cornfield Resistance, where we like movies, so sue us. It's the Professional Left with Driftglass and Blue Gal. We do like movies.
We love movies. Today we begin by grossly oversimplifying various species of literature and cinema and see what happens when they're mixed and matched, and then see how time and tech can turn nonconformist rebellion into fascist conformity. So let's start out easy, Driftglass. Let's start with something like Hamlet.
The easiest play to understand.
Hamlet, no.
Yeah, everyone did it in high school,
Yeah, that's true. You read it in high school and then you performed it or whatever.
You read it in high school and you understood it when you hit 30 because,
Isn't that the truth about a lot of things? Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But the basic plot of Hamlet is boy meets ghost, boy tries to avenge ghost, everybody dies.
Everybody dies.
It's Russian, as you know.
Russian.
Hamlet and Shakespeare were both Russian. Anyway, in a story of secret identity, moral outrage, with our protagonist occasionally directly addressing the audience.
Break that fourth wall. Then there's Cyrano de Bergerac, in which there's a hidden self in conflict with a public persona.
Then there's, of course, Catcher in the Rye, an adolescent narrator who can't stand phonies. Mm-hmm. And there's also swearing in that book.
There's a bunch of swearing in that, which is why it's on everybody's ban this book list. Rebel Without a Cause, going to the movies, which is all about alienated youth, as you know.
The tremendously great movie Network, broadcasting as a rebellion that sours into exploitation and commerce and is tremendously prescient.
Oh, yeah. It's creepy how on target that movie is. And, of course, The Breakfast Club, which, or as is true of all other John Hughes and most of the John Hughes movies, is all about suburban teen culture. Really close examination of suburban teen culture.
All right. So we have a recipe for today. Take a large bowl and combine 2 cups of Hamlet, 2 cups of the Catcher in the Rye, a half cup each of Romeo and Juliet and The Breakfast Club. Then add pinches of Cyrano de Bergerac, Network, and Rebel Without a Cause to taste.
And then you set your easy bake oven to punk and pirate radio culture and bake it until it's done. And you know what you get?
I say that I am deluded, demented, deranged.
Pump up the volume. I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune. My first selection of a buried treasure is from this past year, a really strong drama about high school students called Pump Up the Volume, featuring a terrific performance by Christian Slater as a midnight pirate radio DJ who challenges and comforts the kids in his school with his midnight confessions about the agony of adolescence.
This kid's ability to put his finger on the real fears and real concerns of his classmates.
That's the writing.
And that's why they were listening, not because he was underground or because he was forbidden, but because he was telling the truth. That was very well written.
Which, unlike many of our Gen X listeners, didn't really change my life. It didn't really rock my world.
It's one of my favorites, but I am 3 years younger than you are.
And there is a difference. I was probably born just a little too early. It is a solid movie, no doubt about that, but it's built largely out of stock characters and well-worn teen angst tropes because that's how these movies go. You know, they have to have a bunch of things, and this movie has all the things. There's the misunderstood protagonist, the clueless, shouty dad who comes through in the end because really he's a good guy. The peacemaking mom who just wants her son to know he can talk to her about anything.
Aww.
And both of them are coded as like former hippies who've gone suburban.
Yeah. They're proto-yuppies.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, yeah. And don't forget, Driftglass, that our misunderstood protagonist has a manic pixie dream girl.
He does.
In fact, I think she is the quintessential manic pixie dream girl.
She is, absolutely. She is drawn from the adolescent imagination of a whole bunch of young men.
Yep.
And then there's the fuck you rebel with a heart of gold. He's really a good guy who ends up with his social opposite, very much like the end of The Breakfast Club.
Yeah, exactly. You said that when we were watching this movie. I was like, oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You know, the punk winds up with the prom queen all the time. Yeah. In movies.
Because they had a lot more in common than their surface would suggest.
Sure. The principal of the school in this movie is basically Nurse Ratched. Mm-hmm. And hopefully we don't have to explain who Nurse Ratched is. If we did, this is going to take a lot longer than the time allotted for this podcast. The staff and the teachers who travel in her wake range from the mindless enforcer, the ambivalent youth pastorish guy who thinks teens just need to rap. I'm a guidance counselor and teens just need to rap. Then there is the cool teacher who gets it and who listens to our protagonist and wants to draw him out, our protagonist, Mark Hunter. And Mark Hunter, by the way, is by day just another shy, nerdy teen with writing talent in writing class, but he doesn't want to show it.
Right.
And usually he's just hiding out in stairwells eating his lunch alone.
Mm-hmm. But by night, he is Batman. He is the Knight. And by night, he dons a nom de guerre, happy Harry hard-on, and broadcasts his pirate radio show using a voice modulator to hide his secret identity.
I was reading one review of this where they talked about the parents give him all of this radio equipment so that he can talk to his friends back home.
Back in New York.
That part of the movie is a real stretch.
Yeah, well, that's, they're not poor.
No, they're well off.
They're well off, and that's kind of important part of this story.
Yeah. And to continue the alliteration of Happy Harry Hardon among the teens at Hubert Humphrey High School, Happy Harry Hardon is a huge hit. Yeah. And graffiti and banners with his mottos from the show, "So be it," and "The truth is a virus," start showing up all over campus, much to the chagrin of Principal Ratched, who wants him stopped.
Yeah, we're going to call her Principal Ratched through the entire thing because that's who she is.
She is, yeah.
I feel for him because where have I not gone to and seen dumpster fire, spray painted across a building? Right. So I relate. On that level, I do relate.
Nurse Ratched also wears a tremendous amount of hairspray.
Yes, and she talks very quiet and evenly. Yeah. And you can tell from the very first moment she's on screen, she's a villain. Yeah. She's absolutely the villain because she has to be. This is a teen movie. She has to be the villain. Of course, Principal Ratched also has a dark secret of her own. And if anyone ever found out, it could be her undoing. So shh, everybody be quiet. Don't talk about it. Just don't talk about it. Mm-hmm.
So the situation, of course, escalates and then escalates further. The cops are called in, but the cops are useless. Finally, the FCC is summoned as the boss level villain of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
They show up with vans and helicopters and fancy triangulation equipment so that even though Harry and Manic Pixie Dream Girl take his show literally on the road, eventually the forces of oppression catch up with our hero.
We should probably have said spoilers ahead, but it's too late now. So spoilers behind. We're spoiling a little bit of this.
We're spoiling the entire thing because it's a movie from 1990. If you haven't seen it, our show notes show you where you can watch it.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, come on. It was made in a different century, but not before. He's not captured before he gives his fans one last heartfelt speech, one from the heart. Win one for the Gipper, that kind of speech. This time, it's his own voice since his modulator thingy was broke during the FCC car chase. And of course, Principal Ratch's dark secret is exposed, and she's probably going to go to jail.
She might be going to go to jail.
Uh-huh.
And this is the first time that I watched this movie this past weekend when I realized that the reason that she's in so much trouble is the money.
Yeah. Yep.
She spends school money. She expels students and keeps the funds from the state. And that's the problem, not her mistreatment of students.
No.
Which is horrific in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
The mental and psychological torture that she puts students through should be her undoing. But it's the money.
Yeah.
And even though Harry and Manic Pixie are hauled away in a police van to a fate unknown, his spirit lives on in the many new teen pirate radio voices we hear being broadcast as the credits roll.
Yeah.
And they seem to be taking it very well in stride, that they know this is their last hurrah. The two young people.
Yeah.
This is it. We're going to go for broke and do it. And we know the FCC is going to grab us.
Drop the hammer. But we also, I mean, in the back of your mind, but, he has wealthy parents.
He has wealthy parents. They're both white. It's going to be okay.
In the long run,
and then there's a lot
okay.
of privilege there in what they're doing. Absolutely.
And the thing about all these voices over the credit. Hi, this is Susie. I'm Coffin, and so on. All these other pirate radio stations that pop up. We've seen this in the real world, except it's called podcasting and TikTok.
Yep.
And based on my very rough back of the envelope calculation, there are currently about 5 million podcasts in the world. And you know what? Around 85 to 90% of them are dormant or dead.
Now do blogs, Driftglass.
Yeah, now do blogs. There is no blogs. Blogging's dead. Blogging's been dead for 20 years, Blue Gal. And TikTok, I just did a quick look up. There are like 1 billion or 1.5 billion users worldwide for this stuff, depending on how you count it. And the creator economy, people who create stuff for that and sometimes monetize it, is around 200 million active creators all across the platform, which is amazing to me. Yep. But, that's what happened to the pirate radio idea. And you know what happened to TikTok and podcasting? The whole bunch of it turned into right-wing slop or influencers monetizing off of their, hair care products.
Yeah.
So, because that's human nature.
This movie's a really good time capsule to show your kids, your older kids, about what life was like before cell phones and YouTube.
Oh, absolutely.
It's right there, right at the edge before, digitalization arrived in the world.
Yeah.
And he's got a cordless phone, and the schools have phones with cords.
Yeah.
It's right at the edge. It's 1990. It's right there at the edge. And
and this movie, Pump Up the Volume, belongs to a genre of film that we're pretty sure you're all familiar with, which is where the hero or the heroes die or they're captured, but their actions inspire others and their revolution is carried on in their name. And this could be the greatest story ever told. Jesus is the model for all of these stories in Western Civ. The Ten Commandments, or Gandhi, Braveheart, V for Vendetta. Boy, is this very much V for Vendetta. Rogue One and The Alamo, and so on and so on and
Glory.
so on.
Glory is another one.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Glory, yeah. It doesn't matter if it's historical fiction or science fiction or a biopic. This is a time-tested, audience-pleasing formula that allows the hero to lose, sort of allows the director to have it both ways. The hero gets to lose, but the cause for which they sacrificed nobly will survive and continue.
We should watch the 10 Commandments on our phones, Driftglass.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just kidding. This time around, though, pump up the volume. Since the action is set in the lush terrarium of teen high school life, where the villains are absolutely two-dimensional, invisible mustache-twirling martinets, they're hell-bent on stamping out freedom. And the hero's late-night jeremiads about fighting the power are the last best hope of the oppressed teens of Hubert Humphrey High. It all sort of works. It really does.
Yeah.
You suspend disbelief about the radio equipment.
Yeah.
And it sort of works. And in that pocket universe, truth can be a virus. And free speech absolutism can be the magic bullet.
Well, peace, I think we all want peace, but it's too much to face, and it's too far to reach. Whether I say my rhyme fast, slow, sloppy, and neat. See, I wish when I do it to have freedom of speech.
Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or the press.
So all that said, before we go on to deconstruct and dirty up Gen X's own Spartacus, I realize it's unfair to ask a 1990 teen angst film with its noble heroes and its stock villains and its inspirational ending to bear the weight of all the folly and bullshit and failure that came after it. Also, for the record, this movie has a dynamite soundtrack, which still absolutely holds up.
Hi, Dad. Happy birthday. I'm in jail.
However, what happens when we take the core ideas that drive the plot, that the truth is a virus, and unrestricted free speech is an unalloyed good, and transplant them from the latchkey Les Miserables of Pump Up the Volume into the big, messy, compromised real world of these here United States?
Into a real United States where the fascists weren't on the inside running the show. They were on the outside trying their hardest to take over the show.
And that's the thing, because that's the experiment we've been running in this country for the past 40 years. And the results are not, do you hear the people sing?
Then join in the fight that will give you the right to be free. Do you hear the people sing? Sing the song of angry men. It is the music of the people who will not be saved again.
Instead, the results are a whole lot closer to this.
The morning will come when the world is mine. Tomorrow belongs. Tomorrow belongs. Tomorrow belongs to me.
So what the hell happened? Well, 3 years before Pump Up the Volume showed up in theaters, 3 Republicans, there was 1 Republican president and 2 Republican federal judges, conspired to make one of the GOP's fondest longtime dreams come true. They killed the Fairness Doctrine, which is a policy that required broadcast license holders to present controversial issues. There's one of your favorite words, Blue Gal.
Controversial
Issues of public importance, and to do so in a manner that fairly reflected different viewpoints. The FCC abolished the mandate under the Reagan administration after concluding that the doctrine disservices the public interest, which is bullshit, and violated free speech rights. Oh no, it violated free speech rights guaranteed by the First Amendment.
Free speech. Who doesn't love free speech?
I love free speech. Free speech is awesome. And now while you're distracted, I'm going to save us some effort by borrowing stuff from a very, very long post I wrote a decade ago. I'm not going to read the whole thing. We're going to go back and forth, but this is from a decade ago because it's right on point.
And I'm not going to ask questions like, what do you think about the thing you wrote a decade ago, Driftglass, like they do on Meet the Press? That's not happening here.
Well, I'll give you some behind-the-scenes blogging hints for you kids out there. Every now and then, I do a really, really long post with lots and lots of references and links and pictures and videos because I know I'm going to be doing this for a long time. And I have sort of a reference library. If I want to know about all the sins David Brooks has committed, I have a couple of posts that do 20 of them. And this is one of those things. The post actually is called In the Beginning, which is a brief history of the devolution of the Republican Party from 1954 until 10 years ago.
Yeah, so both of us love having archives too.
It's handy. So pardon me while I read my own words, and I'm forced Blue Gal to read my words from a decade ago. For the record, The two federal judges who helped Reagan kill the Fairness Doctrine were future Supreme Court incubus Antonin Scalia, now dead, and disgraced Nixon henchman Robert Bork, also now dead. After helping to hold down the Fairness Doctrine while Reagan smothered it, both men went on to enjoy long and fruitful careers as wingnut icons and ruiners of American democracy.
Also in 1987, immediately after the fall of the Fairness Doctrine, came the rise of conservative hate radio. Quote, Daniel Henninger wrote in a Wall Street Journal editorial, Ronald Reagan tore down this wall, the Fairness Doctrine, in 1987, and Rush Limbaugh was the first man to proclaim himself liberated from the East Germany of liberal media domination, unquote.
So we were always communists, Blue Gal. We were always commies who hated America. And then in 1990, as Pump Up the Volume was being put in theaters, immediately after the rise of conservative hate radio began normalizing a Republican vocabulary of lies and slander and casual racism and hate mongering via the millions of AM radios and rush rooms across the country, an up-and-coming young pervert named Newton Leroy Gingrich. Excuse me. I have trouble saying his name because he's an awful man.
You choke on it. That's why.
Yeah, because it's a cursed word.
It is.
He began teaching a cohort of ambitious sociopaths inside the Republican Party to relentlessly parrot exactly the same hate speech coming from Limbaugh and his imitators outside the party.
Venerable sclerotic institutions like the New York fucking Times looked with alarm, as the kids say, quote, the politics of slash and burn. And I know we've quoted this before
but
on this
goddamn
podcast. This is published September 20th, 1990, the same year that Pump Up the Volume came out.
And if you know any Never Trump friends who keep insisting all this began in 2016, maybe just read them this little part here.
I mean, we didn't write this. This isn't written by a bunch of liberal hippies.
This is the history of the Republican Party that the Republicans who now are Never Trumpers do not want to talk about.
Yep. And this is the op-ed from the New York fucking Times. Sick, traitors, bizarre, self-serving, shallow, corrupt, pathetic, shame. The group that urged political candidates to use these epithets has since regretted using the word traitors in response to inquiries from the press.
Yeah, but they got over it, didn't they?
They sure fucking did.
Yep.
But the others were allowed to stand. They appear in a glossary that a conservative Republican group recently mailed to Republican state legislative candidates. The group is GOPAC, the GOP Political Action Committee. Its general chairman is Representative Newt Gingrich. With the pamphlet, Language, a Key Mechanism of Control, comes a letter from Mr. Gingrich himself. Its message to candidates, step up invective. Use words like these to describe opponents. These words work. Mr. Gingrich's injunction represents the worst of American political discourse.
Well, isn't it really both sides, Blue Gal? I mean,
The GOPAC glossary may herald a descent into even lower levels of discourse. It comes blessed by a politician of some influence, the Republican whip in the House, and it is intended for candidates on the state level, many of them presumably running for the first time. Even though Mr. Gingrich himself may not have seen the list before it was mailed, yeah, that's a bunch of bullshit. This is a disturbing document, unquote.
And however, these, as everyone knows, as you all know, these sclerotic institutions took no substantive action whatsoever to actually stop the rise of Gingrich, any more than they stopped the rise of Trump, because of their deeply inbred insularity and childlike faith that between wise American voters and some completely other group of sober men of the establishment, someone else would surely step in and put an end to such toxic and radical flapdoodle. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but sooner or later, those other heroes, not us, those other heroes would get around to it. And this is from the same 1990 article, quote, the nakedness of GOPAC offering also makes it useful. There must be limits to the negative politics that voters will bear. It's adorable. There are limits on the left, but on the right,
Well, I was
bottomless.
just thinking those words, those sick, traitors, bizarre, self-serving, shallow, etc. Those are the bread and butter now of Laura Ingram's show.
Oh yeah, no, this is.
And you
it's
don't
just
say N-word, and you don't say bitches, and you don't use all the hate words that Rush Limbaugh used. All you have to say now is Democrats.
well, or low IQ, nasty,
Yeah.
nasty low IQ. That's what
Yeah.
they mean. That's
Yeah.
that's the N word,
Yeah.
and everyone knows it.
Yeah.
And the reason Trump got elected is he talked like this.
Yeah. Yep.
Gingrich
Yep.
taught him, Limbaugh taught him. This was their mother tongue, and Trump just came in and said,
just
"Yeah."
absorbed it off of Fox and
Anyway.
repeated it. Yep.
Back to the article. The bald appeal of invective will certainly probe those limits. For now, it should be said that some adjectives in the glossary aptly describe the glossary itself: shallow, sensationalist, and yes, shameful.
Oh,
unquote.
I can feel the finger wag, Driftglass.
So much. You could feel it was like a breeze coming in from the east, Blue Gal. All the fingers wagging at the New York Times.
4 years later, neither the wise American voters,
What?
or the sober men of the establishment had shown up to save the day. And that's very sad.
Yeah. And that's when Republicans swept to power in the Senate and the House in 1994.
Sure, those crazy liberals had been jumping up and down screaming that the party of Lincoln was dying. And the last remnants of Eisenhower Rockefeller Republicans were being displaced by billionaire-backed ghouls and madmen. But, geez, Driftglass, liberals, ugh. Who listens to liberals anyway?
Yeah. When Rick Wilson says it in 2025, it's genius, Blue Gal.
Yeah.
When we say it in the 90s and the 2000s, it's heresy and shut up and sit down because you're
I'm
crazy.
trying real hard here to do the Tim Miller eye roll.
Yeah.
Well, liberals.
God, what you gonna do? So instead of heroes showing up to save the day, Limbaugh's brand of self-pitying, white grievance peddling, misogyny, gay bashing, and rancid bigotry became the hottest thing on AM radio, being carried on hundreds of stations across the country and spawning dozens and dozens of wretched little imitators, while Limbaugh's shitty books shot to the top of the New York Times bestseller list, ushering in a whole new era in ways for unscrupulous conservative rage hustlers to get rich telling morons the lies they desperately wish to believe.
Yep. It was during this period when a number of unpleasant realities became painfully clear. First, it turns out that Pump Up the Volume was wrong. The truth is not a virus. Not at all. You know what are viruses, Driftglass? Batshit conspiracy theories are viruses. Also racism and homophobia and xenophobia and misogyny, but not truth. The truth actually requires love and care and protection. Because with truth, there's always the risk of hearing something that the mob might not want to hear.
Exactly. The mob pays Fox and hate radio to tell them the lies they want to hear. Very much like centrists and moderates pay papers like the New York Times to tell them the lies they want to hear. It's both sides, Blue Gal. But the truth in this mixture is incredibly dangerous because it carries with it the risk of confronting you with something so tectonic that could upend your whole world and shatter your identity. Which is why, as the saying goes, a lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is lacing up its boots.
Especially when telling lies under the guise of news, under the banner of free speech, goes corporate. When billions are poured into creating a media ecosystem built on lies, which now has its own newspapers, magazines, institutes, projects, radio and television networks, colleges, and churches, which is now powerful enough that it grows its own judges and candidates like milk-fed veal, and moves millions of voters this way and that, depending on which set of lies they need to tell today. And when they get caught, they are willing to spend $750 million to make that getting caught go away. And they have it. And they have it.
And they have it. They have their fortunes are nearly unlimited.
Yeah.
And when Blue Gal says radio and television, she's not talking about, again, programs or people. These are whole networks that they own that are in American families all over the country. Multiple networks, multiple overlapping radio networks. They have, it's breathtaking when you step back and look at the scope of it, but it actually gets worse because while the founders loudly disagreed, about a number of critical issues, specifically slavery and the power of the federal government, they all agreed that certain basic prerequisites were necessary for their experiment in democratic self-government to survive.
Yep. The founders agreed that you need an informed and educated citizenry, virtue and civic character, participation by the people, and yes, the founders had some weird ideas about who counted as people, but they also believed in institutional protection against concentrated power.
Specifically like generational wealth that created billionaires that could buy elections.
Yeah.
So if a nation expects to be ignorant and free in a state of civilization, it expects what never was and never will be. That's Thomas Jefferson.
And here's another quote from a founder. Knowledge will forever govern ignorance, and a people who mean to be their own governors must arm themselves with the power which knowledge gives. And that was James Madison.
And we got another by James Madison. This is the money quote. If you walk away with any quote today, walk away with this one. Quote, a popular government without popular information or the means of acquiring it is but a prologue to a farce or a tragedy, or perhaps both.
I'm walking away from this podcast with happy birthday, Dad, I'm in jail. But
yeah,
that is a money quote.
I'm walking away from this podcast with happy birthday, Blue Gal.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you. It's not today.
No.
It's a week from today.
But.
And next week, we're going to do one show. On Thursday, on my birthday, we're going to do a show. And Tuesday, we'll be off because Driftglass is going to take me out to dinner.
Whichever Olive Garden you want, Blue Gal.
All the Olive Gardens.
You got all the Olive Gardens you want.
Because that's a fancy place.
It's a fancy place
in
around
Springfield,
here.
That's a fancy place.
It doesn't even have a drive-up window, Blue Gal.
No. Oh. Look, our shield against an ignorant, arrogant, fear-crazed mob sweeping a tyrant into power was supposed to be an educated, informed, and civic-minded public who would never let such a thing happen.
Mm-hmm.
Such a threat would be smothered in its crib by the people through their free and fair press and acting through their elected representatives.
Mm-hmm.
That was the ideal.
That's the balance of power.
Yeah.
That's the check and the balance. But once the free press became the corporate media, who were far more beholden to shareholders and the bottom line than to the public and hard truths, we began to lose our early warning system against tyranny. The day corporate media chose to make fake balance and both sides opinionating, which we've talked about 1,000 times on this podcast, when they chose to make those things its highest virtue, regardless of the civic consequences, that was the day we started losing. And
we as a nation started losing.
Yeah, we as a nation started losing.
We as liberals, we as a country.
That was a terrible and dark day. And we can point almost to the moment it happened. But we can certainly point to the people that let it happen. And it was not in 2016, boys and girls.
Mm-hmm.
It was 30, 40 years before that. And that was the day the lie that there's not a dime's worth of difference between the parties began seeping into the blood and bones of the general public.
On the day that the Republican Party became nothing more than the political wing of conservative propaganda factories like Fox News and Hate Radio, and began seeing democracy as an obstacle to overcome, instead of being something sacred to be defended, that day the right began drawing their plans against us.
Yeah, openly. Project 2025. And still, the corporate media did nothing. They said nothing. They raised no alarm. At every critical step along the way, the institutions that were supposed to guard us against tyranny either looked the other way or pretended nothing was really happening or concocted some false equivalence bullshit to reassure their readers and their listeners and viewers that there was really nothing to worry about.
This is all just politics, Driftglass, they said. Normal politics. And so step by step, every institution that was supposed to protect democracy from illiberalism slowly softened and weakened. Then one day the actual tyrant showed up to deliver the coup de grace.
Yeah, and it took a little time. It took decades of diligent work, and it took some pressure, and it took some bribery, and it took some flattery, but eventually one institution after another bent the knee and gave Trump and his minions what they wanted.
And what he and his regime wanted in the end was not to abolish free speech in America. It was to invert it. The institutions that were supposed to inform us honestly about the world now lie to us in the name of free speech. We are sold, packaged, and delivered to billionaire crackpots and monsters who use those institutions to tell us ever more elaborate fairy tales about the world they wish existed.
And the tyrants now drape themselves in the winding cloth of the civil rights they've killed and pretend to be the defenders of liberty and the champions of the people.
And there are almost no institutions left at that level willing to point at them and say no. These people are not our friends. These are the walking, talking embodiments of the dangers the founders warned us about.
Yeah, they're right there. And behind them stand the politicians who enable them. And behind those politicians stands the mob, the fearful, ignorant, grievance-drunk mob that every demagogue in history has relied on.
The only cure for these problems in a democracy is an informed and educated public. And right now it is an open question whether the critical mass of the public has decided it no longer wants to be informed because it's too much work, it's too exhausting, they don't want to hear about it, or they're trapped in a loop where they're only hearing what they want to hear, and that they consider that doing their own research.
Right. And in some cases, what they hear are Democrats or communists and must be fought to the end. And others hear, it's both sides, Blue Gal. It's everybody. It's the politician.
Some people say Donald Trump has a body double. And anytime you see Trump doing something wrong, it's the body double doing it.
Yeah, well, those are the crazies at the edge of the fringe. But I mean...
But they can find that on their phones.
Sure.
It's not just them. That's not sprouting out of their brain.
No. But those aren't people who are giving up on democracy because it's too exhausting.
No,
those are the people who are like, we must destroy the communists because they're out to kill us all. The people who are just checked out have bought into the lie that both sides do it. And therefore, there's no point in paying attention because everybody's corrupt and they're all bad. It's all someone else's problem. It's someone else will save democracy. Someone else will watch the store. And they've been given the perfect civic responsibility exit ramp by the very people who should have been defending democratic institutions.
For decades, they've been told, and we've all been told, both sides do it. Both sides are equally bad. Both sides are equally to blame. Nothing ever changes. And if neither side is any better than the other, why bother paying attention? Why bother participating? Why bother defending democracy at all? That's boring.
So here's the weird thing. It turns out the asshole from the FCC in Pump Up the Volume was actually sort of right. Not 100%, but he was sort of right. In a society with enough disinterested, disengaged, grievance-driven citizens, unrestricted, unfettered free speech, plus concentrated wealth, plus corporate incentives, plus propaganda networks can be very dangerous.
Especially in a society where money is valued more than freedom, where lies are hugely profitable and chasing them down and debunking them is not.
The minute there's money to be made selling comforting falsehoods to people who desperately want to believe them, the entire equation changes. It's not a lot different than spiritualism. That you have people desperate to talk to their dead relatives, especially after a catastrophe like the Civil War. And they're willing to pay people to tell them that Uncle Steve is still here and he still loves you and he still wants, and people are willing to pay for that level of comfort. It's deep in our soul. It's deep what it means to be human.
And the minute media corporations are given permission to say whatever they want, buyer beware. If it's the public's responsibility not to be fooled, the game is over.
Yeah. If you have to check to make sure what you're being told by media you trust, it's not a lie, then why have them in the first place? They're useless. So the FCC guy was kind of right. In the movie, that conflict exists within the terrarium of Hubert H. Humphrey High School, where it serves as a useful foil and makes for a very good plot.
But out here in the real world, once you establish the principle that anyone can say anything they want about anyone they want with no responsibility for the consequences, then all the incentives flow in one direction. Benghazi.
Yeah, exactly. Solyndra.
Yep, Solyndra. You're moving everything toward lies, toward outrage, and toward manipulation.
And once lying becomes profitable, that's where the money goes. And that's where the audience goes. And that's where power goes. And once you've built an audience by feeding people lies, paranoia, resentment, and racism, the frauds and the fanatics and the demagogues and the pettifoggers arrive right behind. They point out the groups on which they painted targets and tell the crowd, yep, it's all true. It's all true. Immigrants are your enemies. Trans kids are your enemies. Teachers are your enemies. Journalists are your enemies. The Democrats are your enemies.
And that's how tyranny happens. Not all at once.
Not with jackboots and banners on day one.
It happens because lying becomes profitable.
And in an environment where lying becomes profitable, it happens because institutions that are supposed to protect us from that become cowardly.
It happens because too many people decide citizenship is somebody else's job.
And that is what is happening in the United States right now.
Now, there are still people out there trying to hold back the tide. Millions of us. There are even judges out there helping us do it.
Mm-hmm.
Tens of millions of us. But damn, when the rot has been allowed to take root so deeply and for so long, the odds of getting rid of it get shorter and shorter.
Now, we got this question from a Patreon listener named Charles about public financing of campaigns, which also just so happens to help take us where we were already headed. So we're going to take on Charles' question right now. And here's his question, quote, "Hello, I'm an old, crotchety, veteran, hardcore Democrat. And as a high school student, it occurred to me that public financing of elections would solve all of our problems, maybe. But it seems to be the only issue. Republicans and Democrats are totally in agreement that they hate the idea of public financing. Public financing would make the citizens the special interest group, which was the intent originally anyway. Would love to hear your comments on all of this at some time. And why not right now, Charles? Thanks," and unquote.
Well, thank you for the question, Charles.
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is, at least for presidential elections, we already have a form of public financing. And you can still see one of the vestiges of it when you fill out your federal taxes every year in that little box that says something like presidential election campaign. Check here if you or your spouse, if filing jointly, want $3 to go to this fund. And there is a box on your tax return.
Yes, there is. And yes, the United States really had, and technically still has, a genuine, if limited, system of public financing for presidential campaigns, which began, no surprise, in the aftermath of Watergate. It was created by amendments to the Federal Election Campaign Act, FECA, in the 1970s and began operating 50 years ago. Exactly 50 years ago, in the bicentennial year of 1976. And it worked like this.
Right. If a candidate could demonstrate broad national support, they would qualify to receive federal matching funds. So how does a candidate show that they had broad national support? Well, the FEC has a formula. At a minimum, the candidate would have to raise more than $5,000 in contributions of $250 or less in each of at least 20 states, which meant they had to raise at least $100,000. And it had to come from real documented contributions from small donors spread across the country.
So, once a candidate qualified, the federal government would match the first $250 of each eligible contribution. If a donor gave you $100, the government would match it. If a donor gave you $250, the government matched it. If a donor gave you $250, the government matched it. However, if the donor gave you $500, the government only matches the first $250. So it goes up to $250. The original post-Watergate reformers believed public financing would reduce the influence of wealthy donors and make candidates more dependent on, just like Charles wanted to know, ordinary citizens, which sounds just like what we need right now. So the idea was to reward candidates who could attract lots of ordinary supporters rather than a handful of wealthy patrons in a nonpartisan way, which proved relatively easy for serious candidates and really difficult for vanity campaigns.
And presidential candidates actually used this system to pay for their campaigns. Carter did, so did Reagan, and George H.W. Bush. Clinton in 92, McCain in 2000, Bush in 2000. For roughly 3 decades, it worked reasonably well. Presidential campaigns were still expensive, but candidates operated within spending ceilings and accepted public money. And as I told you on the phone today, Driftglass, there were some campaign managers who, in the case of New Hampshire,
Yeah.
blew through those spending limits and paid the fines later, because if you lost in New Hampshire back then,
Game
you
over,
were
right?
done.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
there was a lot of that kind of hedging and screwing around at the edges, and practical matters got in the way. But by and large, it was a public financing of presidential primaries and campaigns. However, in 2004, both George Bush and John Kerry opted out of the public financing system. And so, contrary to popular myth, it wasn't Obama who killed campaign finance reform. It was Bush and Kerry in 2004. And then in 2008, both Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama opted out of the public financing system for the primaries, and Obama, who won, opted out for the general election because, frankly, he could raise a whole lot more money that way. And he
was
did.
raising hundreds of thousands of dollars a week.
Yeah, it was ludicrous for him to say no. I mean, I wish he would have, but he just like, no, I need this money to beat these guys, and I have access. If I just turn down the public money, I can get 10 times more, 20 times more from private donors.
Well, and he was getting tremendous amount of money from small donors too.
Yeah,
they really were the first campaign to master a lot of technology that helped them to raise money. Mm-hmm. This was a system designed for an era when television advertising was much cheaper and was largely confined to 3 major networks, when campaigns were shorter and billionaires couldn't spend unlimited sums independently.
Yeah, and that era is now over. So just for fun, we looked up what's going on with that public finance fund now, and according to the Treasury FEC monthly report, as of February 28th, 2026, the fund shows an ending balance for the public financing of presidential elections of $23,676,733.80, which is a mere fraction of the north of $100 million that incumbent Republican Texas Senator John Cornyn and his associated PACs spent losing his primary election in Texas.
That's just one race, one Senate race, one Senate primary race. And in the general election, the sky's the limit. In 2024, if you wanted a shot at winning in any large state, it costs you somewhere between $45 and $150 million. Dollars. That's why James Tallarico, who's raised $30 million, is still on your YouTube raising money.
Right.
Because he needs it. According to Open Secrets, the 2024 presidential election was the second most expensive since at least 1998. In total, $5.5 billion was spent on the race by presidential candidates, political parties, and independent interest groups trying to influence federal elections.
And the event that ripped the floodgates completely off took place in the year of our Lord 2010. That was when 5 partisan Republican Supreme Court justices conspired to drive the final nails into the coffin of the shambling zombie hypocrisy that free speech had become. The case was Citizens United versus the FEC, and the outcome was that money was now speech, and corporations would henceforth enjoy the same free speech rights as actual human beings.
And once the High Court said that basically you can lie all you want and spend however much you wish to shout your lies into every corner of the country as loud as you please, how can anyone be surprised that sooner or later the mob of Republican bigots and imbeciles would nominate and elect the biggest, lyingest, racist troll they could find? Because the words coming out of his pie hole matched word for word the voices continually broadcast into their heads. He's saying what I'm thinking, Driftglass.
Yeah, he's astonishing. It's like he's reading my mind. No, he's just reading Fox News. And as the second Trump administration began, enough elite institutions decided accommodation was safer than confrontation. And it was then that the norm of resistance itself began to erode to the point where, left unchecked, by this time next year, the Bill of Rights might just be a memory. And in its place, we'd find a laundry list of MAGA grievances, demands, and enemies brought to you by universities like Columbia and Brown, and law firms like Kirkland and Ellis, and media corporations like Paramount Global and the Washington Post, all in the service to deeply corrupt and utterly fascist Republican Party. And I don't know if you want to, Blue Gal, but you want to spend a minute sort of spitballing the idea of how would you make a public finance system work? Because you'd have to extend FCC control over what broadcasters do to private companies.
Yeah.
You'd have to extend them to cable news because that's where way more
really
people.
It. That's really it.
Yeah.
And I think Trump's right in one respect of what the words coming out of his mouth were correct. He didn't believe them when he talked about you need to change the libel laws. It is not okay to blatantly lie about a public figure. And when you know what you're saying is not true and broadcast that.
Well, when you say it's not okay, it's legal to do it.
No, I'm saying it should be illegal. Public figures should be able to sue when a news channel lies about you.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that the reason that this case, it was Hustler magazine and Larry Flint and so forth winning a case where, it was satire, right? Mm-hmm. What Larry Flint and Hustler were doing was clearly satire. Yes. And no reasonable person would think that, anyone fucked their mother in an outhouse, right?
Yeah. I believe Jerry Falwell is
Falwell fucked his mother in an outhouse. No one would believe that was genuinely true.
Well, now we have Jerry Falwell Jr. I'm not sure that, that didn't happen. So.
Oh, yeah. Could have been. At any event, that is so different from some bitch on Fox News saying that, Zohran Mamdani and, I think it was Talrico. He's a demon in human flesh on a news program.
Yeah, yeah.
And Fox's argument is, well, reasonable people know that's not true. Mm-hmm. It's like, you have 50% of the electorate and 38% solidly behind you all the time, believing in their heart of hearts that what they are hearing is news.
Right. But that's their fault. That's their fault.
Well, see, to me, that's elder abuse and brainwashing. But
of course it is. I'm just saying that's the argument. The argument is, look, any reasonable person knows this is just bullshit, which is the argument Fox News made in court.
They make that in court every time.
Yeah. Nobody thinks this is news. Everyone knows better. And what you'd have to do, I mean, I agree in theory.
Then they get attacked the other way, and that's, it's news, it's freedom of the press.
Yeah.
They win either way depending on the argument. Yeah.
If you wanted to, put in place a public financing system with teeth, you'd have to mandate that candidates must use it.
Yes, exactly.
Because if there's a way around it,
and they will not be on the ballot, and then campaign managers and campaign directors of finance and so forth who break these rules go to jail.
And
get fined. No. Not get slapped in the wrist. Mm-hmm. They do prison time.
And that is a free speech issue.
And that's a free speech issue.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
And so you run up against the problem where you would like to force candidates to take public money to not be beholden to special interest groups of any kind. Mm-hmm. And then you would have to shorten the campaign season. You can't start the presidential election 2 years before the election.
No, exactly.
You can't start it has to be 6 weeks.
It's 6 weeks.
Yeah,
exactly.
6 weeks.
It's 6 weeks. And then the political industrial complex
they
hang themselves in their bathrooms. Yeah.
And you would have to make it against the law to 6 weeks thereabouts. Yeah, you'd have to make it mandatory for them to use the system that you give them, and you have to tell television and other media that your ad costs for political ads are going to be
6 weeks are going to be a fraction of what they normally are.
Because now you all have to operate in the public interest. That's how it was before. Yeah. You're operating in the public interest, and therefore it's not strictly commerce. It is something that we're doing for the good
public interest.
Yeah.
And the thing that's really, to me, got to go are, secret $850,000 donations to a primary campaign 2 weeks before an election. Mm-hmm. Political action committees have got to go. Now, maybe that's something you think about, is political action committees that actually pass that test of public financing, where they receive 1 million donations of under $250 are permitted to participate in the political process because they are funded by people, just like lobbying organizations who actually have, I don't know, $150 thousand people signed up for their mailing list. That's actually a broad-based coalition of people.
And then you'd have to you have to stack the courts
Yeah.
to get to the point where you have enough justices on there who would overturn Citizens United.
Yeah.
Because you've got to stop believing it's got to stop being the standard being money is speech and corporations are people. You've got to get rid of those up front.
Well, and that is something that unites a lot of people with us from the right. The boots on the ground Republicans who just vote. They don't do anything but listen to Rush Limbaugh and vote. They hate Citizens United too.
Yeah.
They think it means George Soros can buy our elections.
Yeah, I know. They hate it for dumb reasons because they're
but
not
they do hate it.
Yeah.
They do hate it. So I have 3 words for you, or maybe 4 words, Driftglass, that are going to really sour your stomach.
Okay.
Because we're doing a news roundup. Here are the 4 words, Driftglass. The Graham Plattner podcast. You know it's coming.
Well, how about this? Special guest tonight on the 5, Graham Plattner.
Yeah.
Graham Plattner, Fox News regular. 9
months from now.
Yeah.
It could totally happen.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. No,
all it needs is just that little patina of forgetfulness of, who is that guy again? I sort of remember.
It's even the liberal Graham Plattner.
Yeah.
Believes
agrees
that,
with.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Gutfeld.
Yeah.
It's laughing with Gutfeld.
We got Fetterman and we got Plattner coming up next.
Yep.
But again, you're just feeding the same idiots more lies. And this isn't building new audiences. This is giving them justifications for believing what they already believe, which is not news.
No, and this is
definition.
Bringing us back to Pump Up the Volume, which is Pump Up the Volume 2026. Is that, pirate radio, or does that wind up being Nick Fuentes?
Yeah, no, that's the point. That's the point. It's because the fascists are now running the system. Yeah. That to get to run the system, they had to play the free speech. You're being unfair to me. I need to be able to
so I
say whatever I want.
Radio against the system of my school, and what my school wants me to do is read Hamlet, and we all know that's just a bunch of hippie talk. Yeah. What I want to do is march with the Proud Boys, and that's true freedom. And young men in America in 2026 seem to be not, and I know it's not all, and I hope it's mostly not. We're just seeing, I think it was, what was it? The Patriot Front or whatever it was that took public transportation to their march. Yeah.
Well, and them surrounding that young black woman.
That is the photo of the year.
That is the photo of the year. Absolutely the photo of the year. That deserves an oil painting hanging in the Smithsonian. This is our era. This is what America was like in 2026.
Black woman getting to work on a Saturday. And she's surrounded by Patriot Front masked assholes. And someone's saying, there were 400 of them marching. That's all of them. Well, we can hope that's all of them. Yeah. But they certainly got a lot of media attention for what they did.
Well, and I'm not one for some guy on Twitter said.
That's ironic because here we are talking about them. I realize that.
But I did hear. I don't say, like I said, I don't say some guy on Twitter, some guy on Blue Sky, because it's some rando. But I did hear, wouldn't it be great if they paid as much attention to Republican corruption and to all this other shit that they paid to Kamala Harris's W-2 at McDonald's in 1980, whatever it was. Yeah.
But that's because the microphone belongs to Fox.
Well, no, we're talking about the Times and Washington Post.
Yeah, and the New York fucking Times.
They're obsessed with it. And you have to, if you want to put in a system that will not guarantee good candidates, but will guarantee that billionaires can't rig the system, then you're going to have to get rid of Fox News.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Get rid of, not regulate, not moderate, not, there's some good people over there. You have to get rid of it. You have to get rid of hate radio. You have to clamp down, and you run straight into free speech issues when you do that. And I don't care, because there's some speech in this country that is actively destructive to our democracy, and it's being run for profit by people who know they're lying. Who know
they're destroying democracy.
And I know the real problem are the idiots who watch it.
Yes.
But the problem with this country is there's too many fucking idiots in this country. We need to.
Well, the right wing wants to spend so much time and energy protecting children from drag queen story time.
Yeah.
They don't want to protect seniors from Fox.
Well, they don't want to because that's their audience.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the point being that they have a captive audience who are the problem.
Yeah.
It's not some other group of people. It's not some other condition. It's the people on Fox and the people who believe there's no difference between Fox and MSNBC.
Right.
They're collectively the problem. And to get at that, you have to start destroying some of their institutions. And to do that, you can do that.
Believing that they're being invaded constantly, whether it's Mexicans or drag queens or trans kids.
Don't care. Don't care.
Yeah.
It's just, so what? It's next week it'll be something else. And a week after that it'll be something else. And after that it'll be something else. It's the institution that must be destroyed. And boycotting the advertisers is never going to work.
Well, and I've discovered that I was thinking about that the other day. What can you go after Fox through their advertisers anymore? No, you can't, because the same kind of elder abuse that comes from Fox is coming from their advertisers.
Yeah,
it's all buy gold. Mm-hmm. It's all as seen on TV merchandise now.
Patriot supplies. Got to get those
Patriot supplies. Get your Patriot supplies. Yeah.
Well, we have no news roundup, but apparently we're at war with Iran again. We're on again with Iran. So,
and they're both reasonable, good people that we are trying to negotiate with, according to the vice president, and scum.
They're all
according
scum.
to the president.
They're all crazy scum. We have to bomb them all back and seize, et cetera.
And what is it about the Islamic Japanese something?
Yeah, the Islamic Republic of Japan or something. No, he is simply the tip of the sword.
Yeah.
And the blade of the sword are the Republicans in Congress, and the muscle behind the sword are the idiots who watch Fox and listen to hate radio.
Yeah.
And the whole machine needs to be...
And phone in death threats to anyone who crosses the dear leader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, each week we do some stuff that we always do. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, we post to our Patreon page and website an Internet Kitty sent in by you, the listeners. But this week's Internet Kitty isn't a kitty. It's a couple of awesome pupperoos, Sophie and Helen. Sophie is the honey lamb on the left, and Helen is the adorbs on the right. And you have it on the unimpeachable authority of their human that they are both the sweetest girls. And of course, Sophie and Helen eat freshly poured dog food, our fake sponsor. Whether you serve pet store perfection or dollar store dreck, your cats, dogs, or emus will lounge on the kitchen floor looking like royalty and demand that the food they eat is only freshly poured.
Oh my Lord, it's freshly poured. That's the flavor they adore. One small scoop and hearts are sore. Oh my Lord, it's freshly poured.
Oh yeah.
And you can visit Sophie and Helen at our Patreon page, patreon.com/proleftpod, or our website, proleftpod.com. They are sweet dogs. Mm-hmm. And you can send your Internet Kitty, dog, emu, whatever you have, or other pet to us at our email address, proleftpodcast@gmail.com, where you can also write to both of us. Feel free to write us. We love hearing from you. Be aware that if you write to us at any of our addresses, we reserve the right to read your email or U.S. Postal Service, go Postal Unions, letter on the air unless you say otherwise. A reminder, we will have no show next Tuesday, the 14th, because Driftglass is taking his wife out for birthday dinner.
I'm squiring her about town.
Thursday, which is my actual birthday, we will be recording a show. And I love getting birthday cards. So if you want to send one, you can send one care of the P.O. Box at the top of the show and in our show notes.
100%. And don't forget, we got this gourmet coffee guideline. If you can afford to buy an espresso-based beverage for yourself, buy one for us at patreon.com/proleftpod. This is obviously not charity. This is our job. This is how we do our business. So every week we do this for you, and we appreciate your help and support in doing it. You can also help us to continue to grow by sharing our show on social media. If you love this podcast, introduce it to a friend. They might just hit it off. And thank you for doing that.
Hey, Driftglass, how are the Internet Kitties doing this week?
Well, Blue Gal, the Internet Kitties say,
Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or the press.
Let's think about living. Let's think about loving. Let's think about the hooping and the hopping and the bopping and the loving, lovey-dovey. Let's forget about the wine and the crying, the shooting and the dying, and the fellow with a switchblade knife. Let's think about living. Let's think about life.
The Professional Left podcast is produced and recorded under a Creative Commons license. Copyright DGBG Productions. ProLeftPod.com.